Now, I am a major fan of The Office, okay? And I've chatted with a ton of people about the show. One common comment I hear a lot, though, is that the show fell off the deep end once Michael left. Now, I don't completely disagree with this criticism, and I can totally see where it's coming from. I get it, okay? But I think any show that tries to continue after their lead actor decides to drop out is taking on a huge challenge, and even if it doesn't work out, I like diving into seeing how the writers tried to make it work without that actor. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think the final 2 seasons of The Office are very good, and by far not my favorite, but they're probably pretty low on my ranking if I had to put something near the bottom. But I'm going to go out on a limb here, take a chance of people disagreeing with me, and say, I don't think season 8 is that bad. I know, you can all hate me. Feel free to dislike, leave, make a super personal hate video on me. Do all of that, it's fine, I don't care. There's a lot of reasons I feel the writers did a pretty good job given the challenge they were given for a multitude of reasons, but one of the big things I applaud the writers for is the character of Robert California. What? You mean that creepy guy, the pervert? Yeah, the super smooth, disturbingly invasive sociopath who loved to get into everyone's heads and reveal their deepest insecurities they didn't even know they had. This character is the exact opposite of Michael Scott, while still achieving what I think are the main purposes of Michael's character. Now, what is the main objective of Michael's character in The Office? Now, some may disagree, but in my opinion, it's someone who causes chaos among a group of everyday people. It's an awkward, unsettling persona that gives something for everyone else in the office to bounce off of. Throughout most of the series, Michael's bizarre decisions and selfish choices are normally what dictates the plot of the episodes. Now, what makes Robert the opposite of a character? I know, that's a weird thing to say given Michael's complexities. He's not a two-dimensional person, but in my opinion, neither is Robert. For one, understanding people. Some of the funniest lines Michael gives in the series is usually a result of him not understanding a common known fact that everyone else is aware of. Not understanding the tone of the room, or not understanding an emotion someone is going through, and not understanding that people don't find him funny. It's ironic though, because that's usually what makes it funny, but Michael misses the point from the first episode to the last. That's the running theme with Michael. Robert California, however, understands people very well, and not in a good way. They make this very clear from the first episode he appears in. He enters the room, analyzes everyone personally, and knows exactly what angle to come at it from to get what he wants. That's how Robert was able to quickly take over the entire company, get so many people thirsting for his approval, and while this still causes chaos in the office in terms of drama and gives a force for characters to bounce off of, it does it in a completely different way than Michael did. I feel like there was a safe way to replace Michael Scott, which, in season 9, they basically went that way. I'll talk about that later. But it would have been easy to find some other awkward boss that just wanted everyone to love him, but he told terrible jokes and couldn't read the room. But ultimately, I think it was wise of the writers to realize that trying to replace Michael Scott with just some other actor like a Will Ferrell would have ended in everyone just saying, he's doing a Michael Scott impression and no one can do it better than Steve Carell. They were probably right about that. They tried something different and went with Robert California, who by no means is a perfect character or even very likable as a person, but at the same time shares very little in common with Michael. Robert is a ladies' man, kind of a older playboy who pursues women pretty aggressively. Now, I know what you're thinking. So does Michael. That may seem like a similarity, but to me it's completely different given the motivation. Robert makes it very clear what he wants out of a woman in his very first scene. I think if you've seen the show, you know what I'm referring to. I just don't want to get demonetized, so I'm not going to say it. But while Michael may also appear to want that same thing, there's several episodes where I think it's proven that it's not really Michael's main motivation for going after a woman. At David Wallace's party, it's made clear that Michael isn't really into Jan exclusively for those reasons. Don't get me wrong, he's into Jan, but she offers exactly, what Robert wants out of a woman to Michael, and he's kind of scared by it. He's put off by it, in fact. When he took out all the women in the office to the mall and they ask him what his favorite things to do with Jane are, he brings up things like scrapbooking and lots of other fairly innocent things. It's also a pretty well-threaded message that Michael loves children. He wants to have kids of his own, and he's kind of worried that he hasn't had kids given how old he's getting. So while Michael pioneered the term, "that's what she said," it kind of proves that he sees intimacy as more of a joke. He looks at it more of like a teenager would look at it, and he will want to follow it for social pressures, but when things start getting serious, he ultimately wants to settle down and have a family, which is why Michael has lots of girlfriends throughout the series, but he only gets married once. Robert has been married. Robert also already has a son, so his motivations for going after a woman are in a completely different mindset. He's sort of a walking midlife crisis who pursues the ladies to feel younger. Michael worked in the same position for nearly 20 years, whereas Robert got the manager job and on day one advanced up to CEO. Michael acts like a kid. Robert can make grown men feel like they're falling behind in life due to how successful he is. Now, I'm sure there's lots of similarities to these characters, but if we look at core roots, they're pretty much opposites. I give the writers credit for taking this direction with the series, and while I understand most people didn't prefer this over Michael Scott, I didn't either, that's probably why they wrote him out of the show. I feel like it shouldn't go without mentioning the effort the writers were putting into it, and I just want to give them credit for taking on a trickier challenge opposed to just trying to replace Michael with the same character that was already there. Let me know what you guys think, though. Do you guys disagree with my points about Season 8? Do you think it's actually terrible, or this was a terrible character? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have an excellent day. Take care.